Gary Smith, welcome back to bluesharmonica.com.
Thank you very much, Dave. It's been a little while, a lot of different water under the bridge.
Yes. So we've been working on the It Takes Three project. It's been done for quite a bit. We are both out of our leg braces. We had some injuries we had to deal with.
We had simultaneous knee surgeries. David was voluntarily. I want to tell you, don't volunteer again. Mine was on account of a car wreck, and so that's why I haven't been around for a while. Now I'm hobbling around like Grandpappy Amos.
Well, we're glad you've hobbled into here to continue what we were working on last time, which were questions from students. And so these questions now are about a year old, but I think they are still very valid.
The question is always valid, especially when you forget the answer.
Well, today you're going to provide all the answers. And first on my list is, my band is very loud. How do I set my amp up so that I can hear myself? Or what do you tell the band? How do you deal with the loud band?
Yeah, it's probably the toughest nut to crack of all of the little stage problems and performance problems. The problem of a harmonica-led band or a harmonica-inclusive band needs to be about half as loud as the regular blues rock band that you see at the local saloon, because the harp gets buried real easy. As we all know, we've all been buried under tons of wattage and cymbals and crashing drums. And so I say that's a lifelong quest, and every gig is a challenge to get the harp heard over the band. I think in the past we've talked about the standard ways of setting up to do that, but then the question comes up, are you fighting a losing battle? If you go louder, will they go louder? And if they go louder, can you go louder yet? And believe me, even with the nicest, sweetest guys at the beginning of the night, you're going to be fighting the wattage war sooner or later. So the best thing I can say is that if you're playing with too loud of a band and the band likes you and they really want to put the harp where it should be, then you have to work on stage volume level or performance volume level. It's real different. It's as much different as like the way that you have to play when you play in a recording studio. It's very different. And when you're playing in performance, you're playing for a purpose. You're there for a reason. You're there to entertain people and make them feel good and be part of the party. And that was real easy up until about, I'd say, 1959, 1960, when the bigger 50-watt plus amps started coming out, and guitar players started getting twins, and they were 90 watts, 80 watts, and it was just for a long time it was bigger and bigger and bigger. And now I think we're seeing the reverse trend. A lot of people I see, even all kinds of different genres, everybody's now realizing that a smaller amp on stage with a mic on it is going to give you the tone you want without bleeding into everything else, without being too loud projection-wise. And I think that's a good trend. So guys, be nice. The hardest thing for me as a band leader to do is to tell somebody how to play. Because if you tell somebody how to play, they're never going to like you again.
Yeah.
Because they thought they were playing the way they wanted to play. And if you tell somebody how to play, you have to be very diplomatic, and you have to have it be a unanimous thing, not just turn the drummer down. Everybody has to work off of a certain volume level. And that used to be a lot easier with acoustic basses, but when electric bass became the bottom of the blues band, rock band, blah blah, the whole dynamics of the sound changed. An acoustic bass, even on jazz records, is a kind of a muted thing. There's not a big, oh, honking bottom like there is with, you know, heavier music or even funk, you know. And electric bass players play much different than acoustic bass players. Acoustic bass players will play one note per measure, boom, boom, boom. Electric bass player will play boom, ding, ding, boom, 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 boom. You know, just because the neck is the size of a guitar neck, and you can't really do that on one of these monstrous fat girls. So anyway, without getting too long-winded, have a big discussion. If the band is really authentically loud, you're getting complaints, you're pissed off at the end of the night, tell everybody that Uncle Gary said this is the hardest thing to get right if you already got it wrong and you've been wrong for a long time. The hardest thing to get right is everybody to play at the right dynamic level. And that doesn't mean just one level, you know, there's still changes and enthusiasm and you know, playing strong and stuff. And dynamics are a big part of it. But the basic stage volume, if you want to know if you're doing it right, look at the face of the PA guy. If he's smiling, you're doing it right. If he's frowning and twisting knobs and you hear, then what, you know, he's frustrated because the stage volume is so loud that the mics that he's miking, specific close miking amps, are getting bled in by the crashing drums and cymbals and all that. So try and work with the PA guy, try and work with the musicians, and play softly, at least for the first half of the song. If you want to get a little bit crazy, build it up. But don't just start off on your hands and knees doing somersaults and acting crazy.
So you're taking the vantage point of not so much a bigger harp amp or changing the way you set up on the stage. It's about having a discussion with everybody in the band to make their default volume half the volume of the average blues band. Or
you know,
barroom blues band.
and there's a lot of reasons why guys end up playing too loud. Number one, they can't really hear themselves. They're standing a half a torso above where the speakers are coming out. If the speakers were at ear level, I guarantee that they wouldn't play as loud as they did, but then that's not practical either.
So you say maybe get the amp on a milk crate or two and then get away from the amp a little bit so you can actually hear what's going on.
Some amps have legs, some amps, you know, you can put up on a egg crate. There's actually a little wooden thing that I'm kind of curious about. It's like a wedge. I don't know if you've seen those. They're like a little bass port almost. I'd be real interested to see if it actually adds some more tone, but it lifts the angle of the dispersion of the sound, and you will hear yourself better. It's amazing to people who don't stand on a stage when you tell them, I can't hear what I'm playing. They can't believe it because they can hear you just fine.
Yeah.
But you can't, between the air being filled with all the other electric instruments, and you know, you're just standing over where the sound is, and these people are sitting down. I kind of feel sorry for the person who sits next to the harp amp. Sometimes I warn them, you know, if they got little kids or something, you know, these frequencies are a little harsh, and you may want to get the cotton or the crumpled up napkins and stick them in your ears.
Yeah, so get away from your amplifier, get the amp up a little bit so it's shooting that fire hose of sound more to your head instead of the back of your knees.
That'll help. That'll help. If you can't do that, make sure you walk out front and make sure that when you bend over, you're not over the squeal level, you know. And the best thing you can do is a sound check. Nobody has time to do a sound check, but the best thing you could do is set up for the room, in the room where you're going to be playing, minus the density of the crowd, but you can really hear how it's going to sound if you just play one little song. You can hear how, if it's a real echoey room, some guitar amps are going to ring louder, you know. And like I said, forearmed is forewarned. So if you know what to expect, it's going to be a lot of less problems on the stage. So that's my answer to that question. Do you have anything to add to that, Dave?
I don't. I think it sounds good.
If any of you guys, if we're tiptoeing around the points that you want to hear, send Dave some more letters, because these are the last of the questions that we had, and that's what I really like to do, is just
Cool.
Answer questions.
Yeah, that works. Well, I got more.
And pretty soon my brain will be emptied out a little bit. I'll have some room in there for some new thoughts.